Hello and welcome back to Rue's Slow Living. And it's been a while, hasn't it? There has been so much going on. A huge amount in my personal life and also at work. Some of it quite traumatic, but I have used the toolkit that I have built up and that I've talked about previously for coping. I've taken a leaf out of my own book and prescribed my own medicine, which is to slow down. And I had to just take a step back for a while. And I'd like to just say an enormous thank you to those of you that have reached out to me over the last months, because I know I have been absent, not just from this channel, but also from Instagram and from my Facebook group and page. I have put a few little bits on, but I've not been very present. So thank you so much to all of you that have reached out to me. It really does mean so much. So where have I been? What have I been doing? So a little life update, but I'm also, I'm not just going to sit here and ramble, because that would be quite boring. I've got lots of footage that I'm going to put in of some of the amazing adventures that I have been having. And we'll have a little walk around the farm and the plot and the cottage, because there's been quite a lot of change. So I think the last thing I posted was just a little kind of taster of Scotland, which was way back in June. So I drove up to Scotland. I travelled up on the 11th of June, and on the 12th of June, I can't even begin to put into words how amazing it was. So some of you may not know, but I was born in Scotland. I was born in Oban on the west coast, and I lived in a beautiful little village right on Loch Awe, and the village itself was called Loch Awe. I have a Scottish birth certificate. I don't sound Scottish because I was brought up by my parents are from Derbyshire, and I moved to Wales when I was 8. So I've ended up kind of British and accentless, but Scotland will always be home to me. And I always shed a few little tears as I cross that border and see that flag. So driving up to Scotland, there'd been a huge amount going on, as I say, and I just needed to go home. So I'd booked an adventure trip. I can't really call it a holiday because it wasn't a holiday as such. It was hard work and it took a lot of grit and determination, but oh my goodness, it was wonderful. So I booked with Skyhook Adventures, and I can highly recommend it. They do lots of adventure trips and holidays, both in the UK and abroad. And I met up with the group that I was with, and there were 14 of us. There were 7 men and 7 women. Some had come together, and some of us were solo travellers like myself. So I spent the night before. I stayed in a hostel, and then I made my way in the morning of the 12th to meet up with everybody. And we very quickly had to pack our kit, and we'd already been warned that we couldn't take a huge amount. It was very basic. So we were canoeing from Fort William to Inverness, which is across that part of Scotland, across the width. I've done a lot of paddleboarding. I use it like a kayak, so I have a seat and a double paddle, but I've never canoed, so it was all new to me. I was quite nervous. And what an amazing group. As I say, there were 7 men, 7 women. I got buddied up with a wonderful chap called Steve. We had a blue canoe, and I jokingly named her Boaty McBoatface. Some of you will get that joke. And by lunchtime, we'd really mastered, we had a little bit of coaching, and then we were out starting off on the Caledonian Canal network. And it's not a canal like the ones, some of you may know this already, but not like the ones you think of around here with the narrow boats. These are big, designed for ships, and absolutely remarkable network. I won't bore you with the history of it, but it was fantastic. So it was linking the Caledonian Canal network with the lochs. And by lunchtime, we got the knack of it. It was very basic, as I say. So there were 2 people in each canoe. We had to carry our own kit, which had to be basic: tents, cooking equipment, food, everything that we could possibly need for 5 days of canoeing and wild camping. And it really was wild camping on the shores of the lochs. So, you know, no toilets, no shower blocks, no nothing. No, we had to carry the water, and every opportunity we got, we filled up with water. And it was amazing. And I met the most amazing people, some of whom will be friends for life. And it was just phenomenal. It was emotional. It was difficult. It was amazing. It was all of the above. I swam in the lochs. The most difficult but also incredible day was Loch Ness. We actually did it in one day from one end to the other, and it got choppy and it was waves like this. It was like being on the sea. I was scared but enthralled all at the same time, and we did it, and there were celebrations and hugs and tears, and it was just wonderful. So I will have put some footage in already, but I'll put a little bit more in now for you to see, because it really was just something else. And I have some sad news. I might as well just come out with it. Chris and I are no longer together. Chris chose to leave and he's moved out. I'm still on the farm and I'm staying here on my own. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but I know I can do it. So yeah, I had to tighten up my belt a little bit. And do a little bit jiggery pokery with some finances, but my landlord's happy to have me here, and the agents that that we rented through, and I now rent through, are perfectly happy to have me here as a solo occupant. So that's great, because that would have been such an upheaval, and trying to find a place to live with 3 horses, 4 sheep, a flock of chickens, a tortoise and a dog, and to have to leave my lovely plot, that would have been tough. So I'm here at least for the next 12 months. I'm not sure what the future holds after that, but I'm not planning too far ahead. But I'm feeling grounded and I'm feeling grateful, and I'm moving forward with purpose, and I'm in a really, really good place. One of the things that happened to me in Scotland on day 1 was that I actually had my phone stolen, and it could have been devastating, but actually it was the first step towards this kind of new journey and new life, because it really made me stop and go, well, do you know what? Do I need my phone? Do I need to be on social media? Do I need to be taking all these photographs? And that's one of the reasons I've been absent for a while, because I just needed to switch off for a while. And I think we can use our cameras and social media and all the things that we do with our cameras very positively, but it's easy to slip into that negativity as well. So thank you, whoever stole my phone. You actually did me an enormous favour. I managed to put a lid on my anxiety and just deal with it. The group that I was with were wonderful. They opened a WhatsApp group and they all pulled all their photographs, and they always were asking every day, is there anything you'd like us to take a picture of, just let us know. So when I finally got a new phone, got it up and running, got all my apps back, I was able to jump onto that WhatsApp group and pull some of the photographs and video footage off. I did also have my little blue vlogging cam that I do most of my vlogging with me, so I was able to get some footage with that. Yeah, it really made me have a little rethink about priorities, which was actually a really good thing. So since then, I've been camping and walking and wild swimming. I went to a wonderful sound bath on the beach in Colwyn Bay, and I had fish and chips afterwards. I went pod camping at Carrog Station near Llangollen with my swim buddy Jules, and we had a lovely time. My fabulous friend Judith, who's also a nurse at the clinic, she has bought a little camper van. I say little, it's quite big, a Citroen, and we had an overnighter in that near Bethgelert, and we had an amazing walk up over the hills and a fabulous wild swim. So I've been getting out and about and doing things. I'd already pre-booked some theatre tickets, which obviously I was going to end up going on my own. I had 2 tickets. I'd booked them last year, I think, for The Girl on the Train, the theatre production. But Judith came with me, and I packed a picnic, and we put our dresses on, and it was just a lovely, lovely evening. So, you know, there's so much that we can do, isn't there, that's free. As I said, I already bought those tickets, but, you know, having a picnic, or finding a cheap campsite, or just going for a walk, taking my paddleboard out on a local river or lake, all these things are free. And it's really made me reassess life and think about what I need, what I don't need, and what I can do that doesn't cost much, because the money needs to go to the rent and the bills. So I think I've sat here and rambled for long enough. I know I've shown you some footage, but let's have a little walk around the cottage, because there've been some changes here. And then it's a little bit dull, but the rain has stopped, and finally we have some rain, because we've had so many months without, and I'm sure many of you have been celebrating that. But for me here on the farm, it's been a bit of a nightmare, because it's meant the grass isn't growing, and if the grass doesn't grow, there's nothing for the animals to eat over the winter. But finally we've been getting rain, and everywhere's greening up again. So we'll have a walk around the cottage, we'll have a walk around the farm, and we'll hop over to the plot. I've still got the lovely little vintage caravan, who I've now named Nora. She needs a little bit of TLC, because I've been using her for some a project, crafting and creating. So yeah, she needs sorting and tidying and a bit of TLC, but she's still here. I've still got my lovely Pippa, so I'll give you a little update on her, and the horses and the sheep and Victor and the chickens, and who have I missed? The sheep. So let's get up and get moving, and I'll give you a proper update on everything. So let's start with Pippa. Here she is, and you will notice, those of you that are eagle-eyed, this is not the sofa that used to be here. So we used to have the big leather sofa that was across here, but Chris took that with him. And I got this for, I think it was 20 or 30, £20, I think, second hand from Marketplace. And it's just lovely. And I also got these amazing curtains, and I think they were £10. And I got a set. It's really hard to find 3 pairs. So we're just in the snug here, of these beautiful quality curtains, and I'm sure you'll agree, you know, I could not have done better with the colours. And they're actually Laura Ashley. I got them from a lovely lady locally. So let me just come back. So I've not done too much rearranging, but I've just, because the sofa's smaller, I've just put it on a bit of a jaunty angle. The footstool I've always had. And then it means that I can pull out this monitor and swing it round, and then I can sit. I'm going to sit. I can sit here and put my feet up, and when I swing that monitor around, I can sit and watch a film, or I can watch my favourite YouTubers. It is the corn moon. It's the 7th of September, and it's the corn moon, or the barley moon, tonight, the full moon, and I will be celebrating. I'm going to be popping out I was supposed to be going to a sound bath and swim, but it got cancelled. Well, it's got moved till tomorrow. So I'm going to go to the Mere and have a swim later. But my altar, I just updated today to celebrate the corn moon. This is actually a Himalayan salt ball, but I just like to use it to represent the moon. So I'm celebrating that tonight. And a few little additives I've popped in here, things that I had lying around, things that didn't cost very much. So I've added in these little pom-poms because aren't they just cute? And some twinkly lights that had been sitting in a box. They're battery operated ones. With the new curtains, I've just moved some plants around. The new sofa. And I crafted these yesterday. I spent 3 hours just watching a series, and I made these little pumpkins, because normally I would have my own little pumpkins and squash, but I didn't grow any this year because I didn't grow very much at all. And I'm really happy with them. I think they look really cute. So let me know if you'd like me to do a little video on how to make those. I could do a short if anybody's interested in how I made these little pumpkins out of wool. So that's the snug. Let's hop out into the dining room, which is pretty much the same really. But some of you may not have seen it. I've done a little bit of rearranging because, again, Eagle Eyes of you will have noticed there used to be some lovely pots on here which had cacti and succulents, but they were Chris's. I'd bought them for him as gifts over the years, so he's taken those with him. I've got some apples because, of course, it's that time of year that we're getting fresh apples from the orchard, as well as damsons. There's all sorts. It's one of the nicest years I've seen for a long time for berries and so on. So everything's much the same in here. I haven't had to light the wood burner yet, but I don't think it'll be long. Had a little rejig in the kitchen. So I've done away with the microwave. I've never really been big on microwaves. So the kettle and the toaster used to be over here. And actually, I don't know why. I'm just getting things ready for my swim later because it's going to be chilly. So I'm going to make myself a flask of cocoa and take some cake. I did treat myself. I had a little bit of spare money and I bought this lovely kettle and toaster. It's Russell Hobbs, but it's Emma Bridgewater. Isn't it just gorgeous? And it actually makes sense because this has always been my tea cupboard. And this has always been for mugs and so on. So actually to have the kettle here and then the toaster near to the fridge where the jam and the butter and everything is, makes a lot more sense. Excuse the dishes. Some that haven't been washed and some that have. And then I've moved all the utensils that used to be in the corner over here. And doesn't that make more sense? And then I've just done a bit of a rearrangement because I've got a few less pans, but I've got enough to keep me going and to cook. And then I think one of the last videos I made was actually the little shower room makeover, which I'm absolutely loving. I have added in a few little bits and bobs now. But I'm just loving this space. And I've added in this macrame plant hanger, which somebody gifted to me. But yeah, really still enjoying this space. And then we'll hop upstairs. Because again, I know I've done tours, but it has changed a little bit. Some of you may or may not have seen it. Let's just pop a light on. And I know people are interested. So you'll notice a lot of the stuff is still the same, and that's simply because some of this was stuff I'd already bought, and a lot of the things I actually bought while we were here. So the spare room's nice and tidy. I've moved this chest of drawers in. The bed's covered at the moment because I'm getting my swim gear ready for later. And then what I've done is I've moved all my swim, walking, sports gear, climbing gear, all my kind of kit, if you will, into this wardrobe. Oh, that's the wrong way around. I always get these doors wrong. and then into my room. This ottoman used to be in the spare room, but I've moved it to here, and it's much the same in here. But one of the things that I've done is, again, eagle eyes of you will have spotted that this chest of drawers, these little knobs used to just be plain, and I've changed those for these little porcelain ones, which again, it's something that cost next to nothing. Oh, here's Pippa. But has absolutely transformed this chest of drawers. So yeah, much the same in here. So down we go. Here comes a Pipsy Lou behind me, and let's pop out into the garden. So it's actually been quite a rainy day today, on and off. I've had some real downpours, but it's not actually that cold. So let's hop out, and we'll start off in the barn because I've made some changes in there. So I'm going to flip you round so that you can see. So again, from Marketplace and Free Cycle, I've been picking things up. Changed the camping table for this battered but solid table, which I absolutely love. I bought this. It was £30. I've always wanted a Chesterfield sofa. It's absolutely battered, but Pippa loves sitting on it, and doesn't it look pretty? And then I've added in these little bits and bobs, again, things that I'd already picked up from Lidl, Aldi, the geraniums that I often have in baskets and pots, which I didn't manage to do this year, and some little candles and so on. The hammock isn't out at the moment, but I usually have the hammock kind of above where Pippa is at the moment. And then these are chairs that I already had, and I've just moved them around. Still got my washing line. I've added these in. They're great. I don't know if any of you have got any of these. They're battery, but I think there were 5 or 6 in the pack. And it just means I can pop lights on when I come out in the dark on my own. Because down the back of the barn, I haven't brought them in yet, but it's the bin's outside because I put it out for bin day. But this is where I store my big wheelie bin and all my recycling and stuff. And this, I've got the sheep hurdles here because I don't like Pippa going in there and getting tangled up in all the rubbish. And I've got a little chest freezer there as well, and a few other bits and bobs. So yeah, isn't it looking lovely? And it's just a gorgeous space to sit. And I spend a lot of time out here. You know, during the day, I come out and sit and eat lunch. It's a great place for friends to come and sit. And oh, talking of friends, they've been so wonderful at helping me. So Victor's tucked up in bed at the moment. He did come out for a little bit earlier, but it's been a dull old day, so he's back in. This was all overgrown and is now beautifully mowed. So yeah, I had friends that came and helped me because the farm was a mess. So all of this was overgrown with weeds, and it isn't anymore. The lawn was overgrown. There was nettles all as high as the chicken fencing. So between us, we have worked so hard, and I've continued to work hard to just get everything back on track. Look at these pears. I cannot collect them fast enough from this enormous pear tree that you may have seen before. And then the apples are coming down. I think there goes another. I was going to capture it. I heard another crack and plop. There goes another pear. There's apples coming down from the apple trees, and there's damsons. We've made this area a little bit nicer. So all of this was overgrown and is now all weeded. And I've moved the table and chairs. This is, I just burn rubbish in it. And I'd burnt all the chicken bedding recently because they had mites. So I burnt all the bedding and treated them, and treated the bedding with diatomaceous earth. This has been absolutely gorgeous. I've now got some little twinkly lights up. And you may remember I planted, there were tiny little honeysuckles. There were 3 varieties, and look at them. So I've had sweet peas and honeysuckles, and this plant that one of you identified, and I've forgotten what it is again, which is still flowering. And oxeye daisies that were so, look how tall they were beautiful. And the calendula, which is still flowering a little bit, and it's just been absolutely delightful. And this is a really lovely space now to come and sit with a cuppa and watch the chickens. And there they are. Pippa is watching the chickens. She's obsessed with them, but she's actually really good. I don't think she'd do anything if she actually got in with them. She just wants to play. So while it's not raining, we'll have a little walk around, and then we'll do the plot, and then if it does rain we can hop into the polytunnel. So you can see that the grass is very short, but it's finally greening up. So there were thistles, there were nettles, there were docks. So I did find a lovely local chap. He specialises in smaller properties or smaller fields, and he came with his tractor. Right, Pippa will probably bark now because she does bark something terrible when I go out of this gate. It's a bit of a game. Oh, there she goes. So this was, it was above my knees high with grass and weeds and thistles. I have trimmed all of this and various other patches, but he came and trimmed, no he didn't, he came and topped all the fields. The sheep are down in the bottom field at the moment, the one that they're often in over the winter months. They've actually spent the summer there, and I'll be moving them up and probably having them in here for some of the autumn months, and then I'll decide. But I'm feeling in control. Hey boys! Come on! That's a lovely greeting. Hello! It's a good boy. Hello. Hello. Hi. So you can see they're all looking absolutely fabulous. It won't be long before I start putting their lightweight rugs on as we go into autumn, and then thicker ones as we go into the winter, but they're all really happy and well. Look at those skies. I think we're going to get some more rain. So let's go over to the polytunnel. So I have actually started feeding this wrapped haylage to the horses much earlier than I normally would, but that's because, as I say, it's been so dry that I've had to start feeding early because the grass just hasn't been growing. And the herb garden's a little bit tangly, but we've got some rosemary, lemon balm, there was some parsley here, and I think there's some mint hiding somewhere underneath that. So the plot was an absolute disgrace, but again, with help of my friends, all of this has been cleared because the weeds were up to here, nettles and thistles and grass. So that's now accessible. I've decided, I think I've mentioned this previously, to give up on the bark paths, and I've just been mowing and trimming. Again, help of my friends to get it back to this state. The flower bed is looking awful, but I need to get back on top of it, and I will. This is now all mown down. Still got my beautiful yellow shed. And the window box has been gorgeous, but everything's died off now. But I just love this little shed, it's so damn cute. And then the beds, hurrah, finally are weeded. Just a few more weeds to pull out, and then I'm going to cover them with cardboard, compost them, and they really will be ready for planting into. And I can't believe how many times I've said that, but they really, really will. Had some raspberries, but they've now gone over. And then the last bit to really get on top of and weed is where the strawberries used to be. And I used to grow sweet peas up that one. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't have anything up that one this year, and I don't know if the clematis has survived. It may have accidentally been trimmed, but hey ho, such is life. The rhubarb's gone over now, but this is what we collectively, and you can see how high it is because that's a green wheelie bin. Look at that pile, and that is what we've taken from the plot, and a few bits from around the farm, but most of that's from around the plot. And if you look at this is what the whole farm was looking like. So this just needs trimming, and I will get that done. But actually there's been a lot of wildlife and butterflies and insects and bugs and things, but I can finally access my compost bays again, and everywhere is looking a huge amount better. Let's hop into the polytunnel, where I have had a few bits and bobs going. So I've still got some tomatoes, which are from this pot, and here I've got some peppers, and there's quite a few still on that plant. Don't know if there are any on that one. There's a few potatoes that need to come out. These beautiful petunias, some little bits and pieces. Now, some of you will remember some years ago I started asparagus off from seed, and this is it. I found these pots. I thought it was all dead, but actually this one may not have. Oh no, there's some shoots. So 3 out of the 6 pots have survived, and I'm going to get them into beds, because who doesn't love some fresh asparagus? And then in here there are some flowers. This is actually a mix for tortoises, and I'm experimenting with growing more food for Victor through the autumn and winter months, because obviously there's less that I can forage outside. These are herbs that have kind of bolted a little bit. I've got some more peppers. I don't think you can tell. There's some basil here that's starting to flower. There's a little red pepper in there. This is just a whole, I think that's a stray tomato plant. There are some flowers, but this is basically just a tangly mess, so it's ready for weeding. And loads of tomatoes. I've had a really, really good tomato year, and they're still coming. They're still coming thick and fast and delicious. And again, help from my friends. This was an absolute mess. The staging had started to fall down. There's so much stuff just shoved underneath, and look at it now. It's all neat and tidy. And here comes the rain. So I timed that just right, because as we were in the polytunnel, the rain came down. So I've hot-footed it across, and I'm back in the house. I've put some lights on because it's gone really dark outside. It's just 20 past 4. So if it carries on like this, I probably won't be filming my swim, but I'm really looking forward to going. And even if it's just a quick dip, I'm leaving it till this evening. I want to go as the sun's setting, and hopefully I'll be able to see the moon. But if it's raining, we've got all these clouds. We shall see. If I can get some footage, I will. I'll probably take some photographs and pop them on Instagram and my Facebook group. So those of you that have been following the Facebook page, I'm not really posting so much on that now, and I have got some plans for it, so watch this space. But I've opened a group because it's more interactive. It's just a nicer space. So if you are following me on my Facebook page, I've put a link and a post on today, so you can click on that and you can just request to join the group. And I'd love it if you'd hop over to the group because, as I say, it's just more interactive and we can engage more and share more. One of the other things I did was I went to a festival, and it was called Between the Trees, and it's down near Bridgend. Oh my goodness, it was wonderful. I'll put some pictures in. I don't think I took much in the way of videos, but like folky, hippie vibes, a little bit of pagan stuff in there. I had an absolute blast. It was wonderful. And it's right next to the, so it's underneath, it's in a forest between the trees. And then it's actually within half an hour's walking distance of a lovely beach. So I had a swim in the sea as well, which was wonderful. So all that remains to say is thank you so much for watching. I'm so sorry that I've been absent, but I'm sure that you will understand. Please put me some comments below and let me know what you're up to. I really have missed you all. I'm hoping that you'll all still be here after such a long absence. And I can't promise weekly vlogs, but I will certainly be filming and getting some content out again. And when I'm feeling ready, I will get back to my regular weekly slots, either Wednesdays or Sundays. I know I used to put 2 out a week, but that got a little bit too much. So probably, I haven't decided yet whether it'll be a Wednesday or a Sunday or a Monday or a Friday. But today is Sunday, and all being well, I'll get this processed and out sometime this evening. If not, I'll pop it out later in the week because, again, not a pity party or a sob story, but from the filming to getting the video out, there's a lot of work involved with the editing and processing. So again, I'm working at a slower speed now, not putting myself under any unnecessary pressure. So this vlog will be out when it's out, and I really hope that you've enjoyed it. So for now, take care. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all again really soon.